Hello everyone, Jane Clifton here and welcome to the Zoom room and the 27th annual Scarlet Stiletto Awards for Best Crime and Mystery Short Stories by Australian Women. Let me begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the country throughout Australia. Where I am on the banks of the mighty Maribyrnong River, those traditional owners are the Wurundjeri, Woi Wurrung and Bunurong peoples of the Kulin Nation. But wherever you're watching from across Australia, we acknowledge those owners and we recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. It's going to be a funny old awards night tonight, and warning, there will be glitches. There are bound to be glitches, but even though we miss out on the chance to catch up with one another and sit across the table from one another and have a few wines and look at how fabulous we are, how fabulous will it be to take a loo break anytime we want and not to get lost on the way back? So many pluses to being in the Zoom room. And even though we've done such a fabulous job here in Victoria dealing with the pandemic, the Zoom format means we can sit around at home and watch mask-free, unless, of course, you have visitors over, in which case you'll be obeying the rules. So sit tight in your best pajamas, puff up your pillows, unscrew the wine bottle and relax. It's going to be a fabulous night with many, many winners. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce tonight's special guest presenter. We have known and loved Nadine Garner since her TV debut as a teenager in The Henderson Kids way back in 1985. Since then, she has been a regular on our screens in such shows as Neighbours, A Country Practice, Prisoner, Good Guys, Bad Guys, Water Rats, Stingers, My Life is Murder, and of course playing lead roles in City Homicide, The Dr. Blake, and of course the Dr. Blake Mysteries, of which more later. She's won a number of awards and written and directed screenplays. And during the pandemic, Nadine has been working on an audio series of murder and mystery stories called The Forgotten Mysteries. To present tonight's awards, it is my great pleasure to introduce my friend, Nadine Garner. Hello, Nadine.
Hello, darling Jane. How lovely to see you and all these wonderful people and to celebrate this extraordinary body of work and all the effort that has been made. And I was actually here in the room in the flesh maybe 10 years ago at one of these awards somewhere in South Melbourne. So I know what it's like to be there in person, and I can carry that feeling with me as we go through this evening. But it's a terrific privilege to be able to share the evening with you, Jane, and to come through COVID and to all be well and healthy and to live in a country that's looked after us and put health and well-being before the economy. I think we should all acknowledge that.
Yeah, round of applause for us in Victoria. And I'm glad you've got all your shoes on display there, Nadine.
I only wear one colour shoe. No, look, it's my special dressing. I've removed all the books, which are currently on my bed, and I've done a little bit of set dressing. So,
look at you. Your years in show business were not wasted.
I know. I'm a jack of all trades, Jane.
Now, Nadine, how's your lockdown been? We'll get to the Forgotten Mysteries later, but how's it been for you? How have you coped with it all? How did you stay sane, or did you?
Well, I did stay sane. I think to begin with, I was genuinely very frightened of what was going to happen. I was in a play that was playing at South Bank down here in Melbourne, and the show got cancelled. We were in a theatre of over 500 people and we all got sent home. And there was just a terrible sense of foreboding that evening. I remember it so well. And we duly marched to the bar, as you'd expect a bunch of actors to do. But you know, as we waved fond farewells to the front of house staff, who were all casual workers and being laid off without any security, holiday pay, anything. I mean, you know, just that this whole, I think what's really been revealed by COVID is how precarious the freelance worker is, and anyone who works in the gig economy like you and I, Jane. I mean, the tide really went out on that area of the workforce, and I think it's exposed us as being a really vulnerable part of the workforce. So anyone who was freelance, anyone who couldn't supply, you know, a year's worth of tax invoices company was suddenly not eligible for any kind of cover. Now, luckily, the MTC advocated for me because I was in a show and I got some JobKeeper, but most of my colleagues, most of my peers have somehow gotten themselves through this, and a lot have left. A lot have left the industry. Technicians, performers have left in droves, and it's heartbreaking, Jane, because it's years and years of skills that have hemorrhaged. And I don't know what to say about a country that doesn't value its artists enough to pick them up when they're down, but we are really going to see the collateral damage of what has been left of the arts and culture in this country once we come into full recovery.
And that's one of the things about being an actor that I get asked a lot about, how do you get into show business, and how do you do what you do, all those kinds of things. And one of the things about remaining in show business is that staying power and enduring incredible ups and downs and crises. Now, you are one of the marvelous people who made the transition from being a very young star as a teenager in the Henderson Kids. What a class of that period. What was it? Was it 85, I think, perhaps?
Yeah. And
you had that was Kylie, Ben Mendelsohn, all those people. What came before that for you? Was that just a lucky accident, or did you want to be an actor and had training? What was the story?
I grew up doing dance classes, Jane, so I was one of those kids that was always dancing and singing, and I loved performing, and I was always moving, and I was in dance class like 4 days a week, and then I just stumbled into these hokey little acting classes. They were really pretty daggy, and but bless her, the older woman who ran it, she dragged us all down to what was then Crawford Productions and put us, said, look, you should all just go and do a general audition. And I didn't know what that was. I walked into a room and I read a script and they put me on file. Back in those days, it was probably on VHS on a shelf somewhere. And then I just got called.
That was Crawford's in those days, and I remember doing a general audition for them too. They actually had little cards in a box. And it was so much easier then to actually get a general audition than it is now, I imagine.
I think so. I mean, that was really a different time of television making in Australia, I think, Jane. And that building doesn't even exist anymore. I mean, it's a Bunnings. There's a Bunnings stands there now on Middleborough Road. But it was a time in Australian television history, and we were making sort of good TV back then. A lot of police drama and murder mystery. I mean, there was Homicide back then as well. So we've had a long history of murder mystery in this country, and it's something as a genre we tend to keep looping back around to, which is why I've ended up working in murder mystery and crime. So I mean, it's never been my favorite genre, but I've come to kind of love and appreciate the crafting of the stories because I spent so much time telling them. Well, it's safe to say you've been pretty much in all of those, as the ones I mentioned before. But I did notice the bill. Oh, I don't think
appeared in the bill.
I didn't. I wish
Is
I
that
did.
True?
No, I don't.
So do I.
No, I wish I was, because that was a great show. But I was lucky enough at the time the bill was being made. I did go over to England and work on a comedy show called Class Act with Joanna Lumley, which was definitely a highlight.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah, it was terrific. Yes, so I've been I do feel very privileged that I've been able to stay in work. It hasn't always been easy, Jane, as you know. What you appear to be to people isn't really the reality of your career. But if you're lucky enough to keep getting the work, it keeps you engaged and you can't really give it up. And if you do think of giving it up, it hauls you back in because it tempts you with the next job. So
huge amounts of money. I mean, clearly the money is just ridiculous. But apart from all your television appearances, you've had a seminal career on stage in nearly all the major companies, estate companies, and you've done a lot of music theatre as well. And you've done the big hitters, the Shakespeares, the Chekhovs, the Ibsens, all of those. So is your love does your heart belong to the boards more than it does to the little camera?
Yeah, I think as a performer, as an actor, the craft of acting really kind of comes into its own when you're on a stage, I think, Jane, because you're really just left to be there in that wide shot, to speak in filmic terms, with your whole body and your whole being to fill that space. And you craft a performance differently to a camera, but because I'm quite a physical person and because my background is in dance, I always love stage because I feel like I'm not cheating. When I'm on camera, I feel a bit like I'm cheating, but when I'm on stage,
isn't that funny? That's such a common thing, isn't it? Yeah.
I feel like the capacity to be physicalized and to create character through complete physicalization is kind of what I enjoy most. Yeah.
And you're a great singer. I had the privilege of seeing you a couple of years ago in Stephen Sondheim's A Little Night Music, and you got to sing the big hit, Send in the Clowns. Wow. And you were in your younger days in Bad Boy Johnny and the Prophet of Doom. So did you ever think about pursuing a kind of rock and roll career?
No, I left that to you, Janie, but I've done,
thank you.
I've done, like all of us, you know, I've done backing vocals for friends' bands and I've schlepped around, done pub gigs. It's never been, I think because the acting took off, and I think there's so many great vocalists around, Jane, who are really much better than me. Like I consider myself to be an actor who can carry a song. But you know when you hear a great singer,
a bit more than that, I would have said, but
I don't know. I think you also need to hone that craft, you know, like if you're going to be a guitarist, then you've got to be practicing that instrument all the time. And I've let singing just be an extra thing that I kind of do sometimes, and therefore the instrument isn't quite up to scratch. But I love communicating through song, and I love working with musicians. It's my greatest love. Yeah.
Now, in recent times, we've seen you in the superbly named Senior Constable Jennifer Mapplethorpe, no relation to the photographer, in City Homicide. But we loved you best in recent times, I reckon, as Mrs. Jean Beasley in the Dr. Blake Mysteries. Now, that was a wonderful experience, I imagine.
And Jane, you were on our show too. You came
Sister Josephine.
You played a beautiful character in a habit. And
I love playing nuns. I really do.
Do you get to play nuns a lot, do you, darling?
No, that was only my second time, but I've never lost the habit. Oh,
boom, boom. Well, you're delightful. We were just so thrilled that you were there. But you know, these jobs come along, and they just sometimes everything just works. And we just had a beautiful team on the show. We had incredible art direction and beautiful designers, costume designers, and George Adams at the helm, you know, crafting and weaving all the stories. And you know, it's just sometimes there's an alchemy and things work really well. And it was a very happy time for all of us who worked on that show. And for me, it sits very warmly in my heart as a place where I really, really got to create a beautiful character and work in period drama, which, you know, is such a blessing.
Well, we've got an appetite for those period mysteries too. Miss Vicious Mystery has been a huge hit, and now they're redoing it as a sort of mod thing as well. I suppose it's the same thing you were talking about before. We've done crime stories as part of our television, and now crime plus nostalgia. There's just such an appetite for it. And speaking of which, we've only got a little bit more time to speak. One of the things you kept busy doing during lockdown is the audiobook project called The Forgotten Mysteries. Tell us a bit about that.
Look, that came from George and I sitting around going, what are we going to do with our lives? What are we going to do? Like, the whole industry's collapsed. I said, well,
this is George from the Dr. Blake Mysteries.
Yeah, he's a mate of mine. And we said, look, why don't we, and we both love story and he loves murder mystery. And I said, look, I'd love to do some readings. What can we do? And so we went, well, let's go and find something in the public domain that we don't have to pay a fortune for. And then we just crafted this notion of uncovering beautiful female writers who'd kind of been forgotten throughout the ages. And
for example?
Like Baroness Dorsey, who wrote The Scarlet Pimpernel, who'd written this series called Lady Molly of Scotland Yard. So I've recorded 12 of those in my cupboard, Jane.
I love it.
Yes, with a microphone and
wow.
a coat absorbing the reverb in front of me. And I've learnt to audio engineer my voice in a cupboard, and then I shoot it off to an audio engineer who de-breaths it and does the magic. And we've got beautiful Dale Cornelius, who's doing all the music, who was the Blake composer. So it's reminiscent of the Blake family and the tone, but it's only audio. And look, they're a hoot. They're very arch and a little bit camp, but they're really, really fun. And we've made 12. It's the Forgotten Mysteries website. We're on Patreon. You go in and you subscribe on Patreon, and from there we're going to pivot and do some Victorian Gothic after that. So I'm really, just really loving reading women's stories that have kind of been shelved and forgotten about, and really deserve an outing, to be honest.
And it was crowdfunded.
That wasn't crowdfunded.
Oh.
That was a dear friend who did a story for us in The Age, just made that bit up, Jane. It was actually funded by...
sounded unlikely.
George Adams actually has sunk all his precious pennies into it, so we're looking to recoup it somehow with our patrons, but it might take a little while. But yeah, we're hoping over time we gather an audience and people come to us and seek some solace in the beautiful genre that's murder mystery. But yeah, he's invested in it, and I continue to invest in it too, because
brilliant.
What else do you do, darling? You've got to make your own
Absolutely work. I know. Well, hopefully we can put a link up at the end of this so that people can hit the link and go and download it. But you've definitely got your crime and mystery runs on the board. You are past the audition. You're on a little card. It's time for us to get to the awards. Sisters in Crime is very proud to present the Scarlet Stiletto Awards. Its name is, of course, in the grand tradition of crime writing awards such as the Golden Dagger in the UK. And we've always loved the way the name combines the femininity of the stiletto shoe with the deadly speed of the stiletto knife and the sauciness of scarlet women. And as it happens, I also performed in a band called Stiletto, and basically they're my awards. Over the past 27 years, 3,896 short stories have been entered in the with the 28 Scarlet Stiletto Award winners and other category winners going on to have books published, which is not a bad innings. We've been there to help people get their writing skills off the ground. Now, this year, a record 241 stories have been competing for a record $10,460 in prize money and benefits. And the first prize winner also takes home the spectacular Scarlet Stiletto Trophy. But now it is my pleasure to introduce the sponsor of the first prize, Dr. Caroline Beasley, who's the Deputy Department Chair, Media and Communication Program Director and Senior Lecturer in Writing from Swinburne University of Technology. Please welcome Caroline.
Thanks so much for letting Swinburne University be part of the Sisters in Crime writing community again this year. And thanks Carmel and all the judges who diced with death, theft and cunning revenge page after page in order to find that perfect Scarlet Stiletto story. And of course, all the other stories who have won tonight as well. They're equally important. And tonight represents the best reads in town. There's no doubt about that. And it's really exciting to know that many of the winners will go on to become the leading lights of Australian crime fiction very, very soon. And of course, as will many of the writers who didn't win this time, but who are honing their craft in order to enter again next year. So keep reading and writing, and don't forget to let Swinburne know if you want to join our internationally award-winning and well-published fiction writing and teaching team to undertake a PhD, Masters of Writing, or any of the fun writing events and festivals and activities that we run as part of our writing community. So enjoy the night.
Thank you, Caroline. Always fantastic. Now, Nadine will shortly be presenting the virtual frame certificates to the authors of specially commended stories. But now it's time to welcome Christina Lee, who is going to present the judges' report from Brisbane. Christina Lee is a double shoe winner. That means she's got a pair, and hopefully there's a right one and a left one, and was, because of that, asked to be a judge. So please welcome Christina.
So here we are in interesting times. Well, of course, there's been tragedy for some of us, but for probably the majority of us, it's just been endless months of lockdown, quarantine, curfew, same. You can't go out, you can't bear staying in, you're irritated by everything. It's actually illegal to murder your housemates, so why not write some nice, juicy crime fiction? Well, a record-breaking number of writers took up the challenge this year. What a wonderfully diverse bunch of stories we had. There were bushrangers and time travellers and pilots and hit women and nice old ladies. There was poisoning and bludgeoning and, some things really too distressing to recall. Quite a few stories did mention the pandemic, some just in passing. For some, it was a central pillar of the plot, which was really interesting. This year, we also saw a lot more horror and rather more kind of supernatural weirdness than we normally would, possibly inspired by those strange COVID dreams we've all been having. Also, there was probably more historical and futuristic fiction than we usually get. Did people just not want to be here now? Can't think why. But we loved it this year. We loved the level of research that you could see backing up some of the historical stories. We loved the Black humour of some of the nursing home stories and the glee that was apparent in some of the retribution stories. It was just great. It was a mammoth task this year for the judges to bring 241 entries down to a shortlist of 27 and then to award 15 prizes this year with a total value of $10,060. We had to modernise the process a bit this year. This year there were no exciting parcels of dog-eared manuscripts turning up in the mail. There was no hilarious face-to-face final weekend of decision-making. So it's been Dropbox and PDFs and the final decisions all made with Zoom and screen sharing, and I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, we did it and we're really happy. Now is the time for you to start thinking about next year's entry. But please, I've been asked to remind you to read the conditions and FAQs. Remember that we require a central female character who drives the story forward. We don't want to see women relegated entirely to roles as victims or passive observers or helpers or simply there as decoration. For example, if your plot requires that a female character hands over the evidence to the police and then passively watches them solving the crime, please bear in mind there have been women in Australian police forces since 1915, and think about whether your detective sergeant might be a woman. And another thing, please remember we do require a crime or a mystery. No matter how good your story is, that's one of the conditions of entry. But other than that, the only limit is your imagination. We are already looking forward to next year's entries, and we're hoping that we're all in a better place by then. Thanks to everybody who was involved entering stories, helping with the admin, doing the judging. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Great to hear all of that news. We won't keep you in suspense for very much longer, although suspense is key word here. But the highly commended stories are coming up. I just need to outline the judging process. All 241 stories were judged blind. Now, you know that means they did read them. It's just they didn't know who wrote them. There were 17 judges, conveners, present and past, and two-time shoe winners. Each judge had a co-judge in arriving at a first shortlist. Every story in this final shortlist was read by 11 judges and decided over an exhaustive and exhausting Zoom session. Authors of all 27 shortlisted stories will receive a framed certificate in the mail. Now, I'm going to announce the author's name and the name of the short story, and Nadine will tell us a little bit about each author, and then we'll briefly have a look at that lucky author or talented author. So the first author to receive a special commendation is Judith Bridge from Kewdale, WA, for Hair of the Dog. Judith is a previous shoe winner, but is unable to be with us tonight due to work commitments. The next special commendation goes to Cheryl Clark from Altona North in Victoria for Delicious Leavings. Her story started with a clash of ideas, the darkness of the Australian bush, a man she privately called the Charmer, and wondering about the differences between psychopath, sociopath, and narcissist. Her PI character, Louise, burst out of nowhere. Now she's thinking about giving her a whole novel.
Cheryl Clark started her crime writing career with short stories and had several published in the 90s. She then wrote many children's books, but continued her love affair with crime fiction. She's now published 2 crime novels, Trust Me, I'm Dead and Dead and Gone with Verve Books UK.
All right, our next person is NATALIE CONYER, who hails from Mosman in New South Wales, and she is specially commended for The Black Curse. All families have traditions, some handed down for generations. In The Black Curse, one of those traditions comes in very handy.
NATALIE CONYER is a crime fiction tragic. Her short stories have won prizes in the Scarlet Stiletto before, and her first novel, Present Tense, published in 2019 by Clandestine Press, won a Ned Kelly Award. She's hard at work on her next book. Well done, NATALIE.
The next special commendation goes to Caroline de Costa in Cairns, Queensland for Combustible. In 2020, an Australian woman, professor of Irish studies, reveals to a Dublin newspaper the hitherto untold story of her involvement in one of Dublin's most notorious crimes, the 1980 death in her comfortable drawing room of Mrs. Jessica Crowhurst.
Caroline de Costa is slowly retiring from a career as a gynaecologist and life in far north Queensland to base herself largely in Melbourne and engage in the world of crime fiction. She's published 3 novels featuring Cairns detective Cass Diamond and is currently working on a 4th. She won the Kerry Greenwood Malice Domestic Award last year. Congratulations, Caroline.
Good on you, Caroline. Caroline de Costa has also been awarded a special commendation for the wonderfully titled and quick off the mark, Caroline, Love in the Time of Coronavirus. Whoa, you must have been writing during the days. Mid-pandemic, in a Queensland university town, a woman medical professor dressed in full PPE at a COVID testing station covertly observes her husband embracing another woman in his car. Investigating, she uncovers a cunning plot against herself, but equipped with her own knowledge of chemistry, she devises a hot revenge. I should say this properly because it's with a big C-A-T. CATastrophe by Liz FILLEUL from Mount Dandenong has also been awarded a special commendation. Neighbours Jules and Molly are considering adopting cats, preferably from the CATastrophe cat rescue and adoption service they've discovered online. But when their adoption requests are ignored and their donation offers instantly snapped up, Jules starts wondering if it's a scam, and if it is, she plans to expose it.
Liz FILLEUL writes cozy crime, feel-good fiction, and the occasional darker tale. She's a serial offender at the Scarlet Stiletto Awards, having won in 2004 and been second in 2007, 2011, and 2016. She writes for UK women's magazine The People's Friend and has a middle grade novel on submission. Well done, Liz.
Good on you, Liz. Always good to have you there. Christine Gregory from Yarraville, just round the corner in Victoria, scores a special commendation for Red Blouse in a Vintage Shop. Gosh, that's the story of your day today, isn't it, Nadine? Red Blouse in a Vintage Shop. At first, it is the red velvet blouse that draws Maeve inside the vintage shop in the drab suburban street in Brisbane. On meeting owners Elvira and Chester, she finds herself hopelessly sucked into their orbit. But when she discovers Chester with a knife plunged through his heart, her escapist fantasies are shattered by a cruel dose of reality.
Christine Gregory is a Scarlet Stiletto virgin. In her day job, she works for Our Watch, the peak body for the prevention of violence against women. She's currently working on a literary crime novel set in Northern Australia, undertaken as part of Curtis Brown Creative's selective novel writing program. Well, thank you for all your important work that you do, Christine, when you're not writing.
And welcome to the world of crime, Christine. It really does pay. Nights Like Velvet by Rebecca Howden from Kensington, also around the corner in Victoria, is the next story to be specially commended. Sadie's sleeping mind is betraying her, revealing an obsession and longing she swears isn't true. As she increasingly loses grip on how well she knows herself, her nocturnal behaviour starts to tear her life apart at the seams.
Rebecca Howden writes about health for a living and about obsession, desire and murder for fun. Her stories and essays have been published in literary journals, including The Sleeper's Almanac, how appropriate, and Kill Your Darlings.
Good on you, Rebecca. Sarah Hutchinson from Peregian Springs in Queensland has been specially commended for Sugar and Spice. Within the safety of her well-worn kitchen, Cynthia prepares a celebratory meal, each stage revealing key events, bringing her to this crucial moment to face her awful past and protect her daughter's future.
Sarah Hutchinson is a writer with a doctorate of creative arts from the University of the Sunshine Coast, where she works as a sessional academic teaching creative writing. She's won local writing awards and been published in the international journal New Writing and the Letters Page in the UK. Very impressive, Sarah. Well done to you.
Good on you, Sarah. Claire Knock from the wonderfully named Bayonet Head in WA is the recipient of a special commendation for Whiskey Dog. I like it already. A woman's shackled self-esteem and the departure of her son take her on a journey to learn the law, to stand up for herself and to take control of her life, showing her husband that she is not an object of possession, all with the help of her son's beloved dog.
Claire Knock has had an affiliation with crime fiction since a young age and thrives on clever, gritty twists in a story, which is fast becoming a signature passion in her writing. A vast change from her financial background in her Western Australia coastal home she shares with her husband. Well done to you, Claire, for getting out of your comfort zone and heading into crime fiction. That sounds very exciting.
And lucky you living in beautiful WA on the Indian Ocean. Wendy Lewis lives in East Ryde, New South Wales, and has been specially commended for Forgive Ted, not to be confused with Father Ted. In post-World War II Melbourne, Ivy and Cora, aka the Icy Ladies, track down a killer. They really have no other option after overhearing the snippet of a phone conversation at the Royal Potato. Well, of course they did, where the gossip is always hot hotel. That's the Royal Potato. They believe the murderer to be a man called Ted or Edward or some such thing. But is he?
Wendy Lewis has written 12 books, including See Australia and Die, the Australia Book of Family Murders, and Australians of the Year. She also writes for stage and musical theatre, notably The Devil's Caress, performed in Sydney 2018, and Defeating Roger Federer 2020. Congratulations, Wendy. That's a very illustrious career thus far.
We could have jobs in both of those shows, I think, Nadine.
Keep writing.
Just call our agent.
Yeah, we're available.
We're so available. The Drover's Widow by Anna Lord from Croydon, North Victoria, scores a special commendation. It's a retelling of that colonial classic, The Drover's Wife, in the age of Black Lives Matter and Me Too. Two women, polar opposites, battle for survival in the bush, battle each other, until that moment when they join forces to turn a hostile world on its head.
Anna Lord has long been fascinated by myth and metaphor and how they inform human thought. When she's not walking her Westie in a hidden pocket of bush in the burbs, every spare moment is spent on her Victorian detective series, Watson and the Countess. Fantastic, Anna.
Well done, Anna. A special commendation goes to Anne PENHALLURICK from Lilyfield in New South Wales for The Woman in the Red Dress. And she can't be with us tonight, but keep an eye out for her first novel, Dangerous Devotions, which will be published by Clandestine Press, beautiful publishers, next year. Janice Shaw from Belmont North, New South Wales, is specially commended for Eye for an Eye. She is a victim of a heinous crime that has left her disfigured, and from her medipod, she must make a terrible choice. The laws of this dystopian society allow her to elect for revenge, but the laws of a social media-driven world dictate competing priorities. What does she decide?
Janice Shaw is an academic who has an abiding interest in crime fiction. Her published writing to date has been mainly non-fiction, but she loves short stories, and entering the Scarlet Stiletto competition has allowed her to indulge in both passions. How excellent, Janice. Good luck. Keep being indulged and indulgent.
Good on you, Janice. The last special commendation goes to Samantha Wilson from East St Kilda for Cat Scratch Fever. When longtime widow and committed cat lady Dee Dee takes the plunge into the world of online dating, she struggles to get the hang of it. But after a few false starts, she meets Dan, a total honey who seems to tick all the boxes until one fateful morning when he irretrievably ruins everything. What's a gal to do except tailor her punishment to his crime?
Sam Wilson has been saying she wanted to write crime fiction for yonks, but never actually sat down and did it until lockdown gave her the gift of time. She's a published music and travel writer, works at Jetstar, and plays guitar in a couple of old school rock and roll bands. Sam, you can do everything. Amazing.
She's a triple threat.
She's an incredible threat. I hope you've managed to hang on to your job at Jetstar, but if you haven't, you can go and play in your rock band and write stories and you'll just be fine. Well done to you.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Well, that is so fantastic. All those commended authors. Let's have a look at them. Let's raise our glasses and celebrate the power of women's storytelling. A collective raise of glass.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Fantastic.
Sláinte.
Was just great. Thank you, everybody.
We're moving into the big awards now. Myself and our fabulous special guest, Nadine Garner, who's here looking gorgeous in her new shirt with all her shoes. Here we go with the prize winners of the Scarlet Stiletto Awards. The first of our prizes, Scriptworks, Great Film Idea, $200, goes to LJM Owen from Cradock, Tasmania, for House of War. In 1938, a phone rings in the corridor of Brisbane's Bowen House. In the library, Mrs. Evie Harrington contemplates a disturbing discovery. Who's responsible? How can they know of her past? Between rampaging diplomats, masquerading butlers, and impending widows, can Evie protect her family and catch a killer?
Dr. LJM Owen is an author, librarian, and archaeologist with a passion for reclaiming women's history. The host of TAF's Book Love Tuesdays and director of the Terra Australis Readers and Writers Festival. LJ's novels include The Great Divide and the Dr. Pym's archaeological mystery series, Egyptian Enigma, Mayan Medacity and Olmec Obituary. What an accomplished person you are, Doctor, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone from the Huon Valley in southern Tasmania. I'm very excited to be here, and I didn't think that I would win anything because I thought the winners already knew. So this is actually a wonderful surprise. Thank you to everyone at Sync for running the competition, and good luck to everyone else for the rest of the prizes. Cheers.
Congratulations. And now I understand the Egyptian backdrop. It all makes sense. Well done. Thank you. All right. LJM Owen has also won the Queensland chapter of Sister in Crime's Liz Navratil Award for the story with the best disabled protagonist, The Wrong Verdict. And here's the blurb. I'm certain Ms. Annie Evans is innocent, but her family, the jury, and even her lawyer seem to disagree. I believed in a defendant once before and was wrong. The fallout was life-changing. Should I risk my freedom to save another stranger? So there you are. That's 2 for you.
Thank you.
LJN.
I didn't know that had been shortlisted. Thank you so much. So that's
Brilliant.
100% a surprise. Thank you.
Well done. All right, the HQ Fiction Award, which is worth $500 for Best Thriller, goes to Hayley Barry Smith from Sunshine Plaza, Queensland, for Mrs. Betty Jones, Lady Vigilante. Mrs. Betty Jones, Lady Vigilante is a fast-paced, dark comedy crime story which juxtaposes the quintessential Avon lady against the chauvinistic underbelly of the 1940s New York. Picture perfect wife and mother, Mrs. Betty Jones has a dark past which she paints away each day with Avon cosmetics. Who hasn't done that? And a bright smile. When she stumbles across a drug trafficking ring with sinister intentions, Betty recognises the calling card of her past demons and embarks on a cold-blooded vigilante mission to be rid of them once and for all.
Hayley writes from the beautiful Sunshine Coast, usually with a cat or toddler perched on her keyboard. She has a background in archaeology as well and science. So many clever women, and has published books in sci-fi and gaming before turning her hand at crime. You're being a show-off now, Hayley, to win the Kindle Book Reviews Reader's Choice Award in 2019. Unbelievable. Congratulations, Hayley. What an accomplished person you are.
Thank you so much. This is absolutely amazing. That's such an honour, and I know that these are wonderful authors, so I really appreciate being part of this competition. Thank you.
Congratulations, Hayley. That's and love that badge. And the little brooch is of your main character, isn't it?
That's right. This is Mrs. Betty Jones.
Fantastic.
Got to take her
Available
everywhere.
on eBay. Right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Hayley. Jane E. Lee, or Janie Lee, from Kensington, New South Wales, has taken out the Clandestine Press Cross Genre Award for her story Viral. There's life before the virus and lockdown, and life after the virus and lockdown. And right in the middle of lockdown, what if one of your friends is acting very strangely?
Jane E. Lee is a retired general manager who's been writing for many years. She's published mystery stories in magazines, and her work has been shortlisted 3 times in the Scarlet Stiletto. In 2019, her story Into the Park was commended in the non-fiction section of the Thunderbolt Prize. When not writing, she volunteers with Lifeline and with elderly or terminally ill people to help them write their life stories for loved ones. Jane, that is an amazing thing that you do, and wow, how incredible that you can bring that gift to people. So if you're not writing, you're bringing writing to people who need it most. What wonderful work, and thank you for doing that wonderful work.
Now, I don't think Jane's able to be with us tonight because she's unwell, but we salute her, especially for being on board the coronavirus in the middle of it. That's what I call active. Good on you, Jane. All right, Cheryl Rogers from West Swan in WA has won the Writers Victoria Award for the story with the most satisfying retribution for The Monitor. The prize is a 3-month residency. I'm sorry, I always laugh at this because it sounds great, but it should be great, but you're in jail. The prize is a 3-month residency at the Old Melbourne Jail, worth $600. In the olden days, you had to pay this money to get out. A 3-month residency at the Old Melbourne Jail worth $660. And here's the story. The Great War and Spanish influenza have torn apart Hannah's family. When she suspects her last surviving son of planning a brutal revenge, she takes action. She cannot afford to lose one more.
Swan Valley writer Cheryl Rogers has returned to crime after a 5-year gap. Spends more time than she should like writing submissions to oppose silly planning, like a proposed roundabout on a fast road next to a high-pressure gas station on a blind corner, which proves truth is stranger than fiction. She's also co-authoring a memoir about a friend's long journey to unlock the mystery of her mother's identity. Well, thank you for all your hard and important work too, Cheryl, and we're very, very happy that you're back writing again. Congratulations.
Thank you, Nadine, and thank you all. I owe such a debt of gratitude to Sisters in Crime because you empower me to write crime fiction. And because I do that, it actually opens my eyes to things that are happening in the real world, like roundabouts on high-speed roads next to gas stations that are above ground on a blind dogleg bend right next to a classroom. I didn't mention that. Now, I would never use that in a crime story because I'd be insulting my readers. It actually sounds implausible. And that makes me wonder, why then should I accept that in the real world it's okay for men in suits to impose that sort of planning on my backyard? Now, in a forum here some weeks ago, Adele Ferguson spoke about shaming. And really, if people in power are going to make silly decisions, they need to own them. And this is where Sisters in Crime has been so good to me, because we're in a world where there's a lot of silliness, and as writers, we draw upon that, it feeds us. But we're also in a world where we can't afford to be complacent, or else silly things go through. And that's why Sisters in Crime opened my eyes. They probably killed the Pollyanna in me, but they've given rise occasionally to more of an Erin Brockovich, who I can pull out when I need her. So thank you so much. This means a great deal.
Good on you, Cheryl. We look forward to your future writing and congratulations. Every Cloud Productions History with Mystery Award, worth $750, goes to Jessica Southern-Reid from Bermagui in New South Wales for her World War II story, Death in the Skies. When accomplished ATA pilot Evelyn dies after crashing a brand new Spitfire into a turnip field, her fellow pilots know something is not right, but can they overcome the closed ranks of the male-dominated RAF to find the truth?
Jessica Southern-Reid grew up on a farm on the New South Wales coast. In 2013, she went to Scotland and accidentally stayed for 7 years, falling utterly in love with the UK. Now back in Australia, lucky for us, she lives with a small bird who chews the keys from her laptop. Well, that's annoying. Jessica, congratulations, how exciting. And I'm so glad you came back to Australia and that you're not stuck over there in the middle of a pandemic.
Thank you. Yeah, the pandemic did have something to do with my returning, but I'm happy to be here nonetheless. And thank you so much for choosing my story, Death in the Skies. I've always been a bit afraid to write a crime piece, but it turns out I actually love it. So I'll just have to enter next year as well.
Well done, Jessica.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jessica. It's great that you've got a picture of Scotland behind you just to remind us all of what it's like. It's really
of course,
so
yes.
balmy. Well done. We're moving to Kerry Greenwood's Malice Domestic Award, worth $750, and Nicola Wardley, who hails from New Farm, Queensland, has won it for The Garden Fork Murder. Meddlesome matron Elsa Mayfield is undergoing a renaissance that involves murder, menopause, and morning coffee dates with fantastic Inspector Fox. Are you staying with me? Her snooping skills are called upon to investigate a poison pen affair, which involves a dead cat, an indifferent cat, and the dark and swirling waters of the Grubbling-on-Nid Canal.
Nicola snoops through dusty accounting records by day and saves her creativity for early morning coffee dates with her keyboard. She came second in the Tasmanian Writers' Prize in 2018 for an historical short story, has won and shortlisted in major prizes for middle grade fiction and genre fiction, and under her pen name Stella Quinn, oh I like that, is about to publish 2 rural romances with Harlequin. She's plotting a not-so-cozy crime series for her character Elsa and Inspector Fox. Well, you are very busy, Nicola. Well done. Keep snooping. Fantastic.
Thank you so much. As you can see, I'm a bit of a genre tart. If there's a genre, I want to write it. And I'm just so excited about writing in crime. It was so much fun. And this has given me the confidence to think I can start plotting out, you know, a big novel and see where else it can take me. So thank you so much, Sisters in Crime.
Congratulations.
Thank
Well
you.
done, Nicola. Fantastic. Talk about a serial offender. LJM Owen has taken out another award for her story, The Wrong Verdict, the best forensic linguistics story, offered by the International Forensic Linguistics Association. Good on you, LJM.
Thank you so much. And I'm very happy because this one features a little bit of Welsh. So everyone out there who speaks a little bit of Welsh, I'm happy with. Da iawn.
Sosban fach.
The first phrases that pop into my mind when I'm going to be cheeky in Welsh don't translate very well.
No.
Thank you so much. That's just wonderful.
Wow. You're going to be driving home with so many awards in your car. It's fantastic. All right. Another repeat offender, Finn J. Ross, well known to us here at the Scarlet Stilettos, has won an award this year. The runner-up in the Melbourne Athenaeum Body in the Library Award, worth $750 for her story, Murder by the Book. 6 authors are hemmed in by floodwaters at a writer's retreat when one is found squashed under a bookcase in the library. Crime fiction author Jackie is convinced it was no accident and uses her investigative skills to determine which of her fellow housemates has a score to settle.
Finn J. Roth has several Scarlet Stiletto Awards to her credit. Her historical novel With a Mystery, Billings Better Bookstore and Brasserie, was released in June. She's almost completed a sequel to her rural crime novel and is looking for a publisher. Anybody out there? A true crime anthology written with her sister, Linda Cameron, will be released in February 2021. Gosh, lots of irons in the fire, Finn J. Ross. Congratulations.
Thank you. It would appear that I'm becoming a serial offender with The Body in the Library. I seem to have a knack of doing dastardly things to people in libraries. So that's
Right.
my second runner-up one after a win in that category a couple of years ago. So very loosely based on Varuna, which I have never been to.
Oh, I've been there. That would be a great spot. You should go.
Yes, so it was sort of basically based on that, or loosely based on that, just the concept of a whole bunch of writers being together and one of them actually being a really nasty pasty. So, but the other thing I liked about this story was the murder was actually committed by a volume of the complete Sherlock Holmes, which I thought was highly appropriate. So thank you.
It's a heavy book. You're looking for a publisher? Haven't you got one in the family?
Yes.
Are you looking further afield?
Yes. Yes.
Well done, Finn. Fantastic.
Thank you, thanks, Nadine.
The Melbourne Athenaeum Body in the Library Award, worth $1,250, goes to Kristen Murdoch from Waruka in South Australia for The Irony of Silence. Mulga Gardens Library is a refuge for Laura and Indy, 2 very different women. Though not a word is ever spoken by Indy, she cultivates friendship with Laura in her own unique way. Laura senses a kindred spirit, but when a murder and theft take place, Laura believes she has read the situation entirely wrong. But has she?
Sharing a birthday with Agatha Christie, very auspicious, Kristen Murdoch was bound to turn to crime. Absolutely. She had no choice in the matter, fictionally at least. An avid writing competition entrant and multiple award winner, Kristen finds plots everywhere, from an overhead sentence to walking past the perfect place to hide a body. Living on a farm in regional South Australia, her current project is a rural crime novel where the victim meets a grisly end, courtesy of a sharply pointed bail hook. Ooh, that sounds very graphic. Congratulations, Kristen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Like, yes, that's my next way to murder someone, but we'll just keep it between ourselves. But no, Thank you. It was great. I have entered this for quite a few years, so it's amazing to actually get this award. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Keep writing, Kristen. It's
Thank
really
you.
Yeah, fantastic, Kristen. I'm looking forward to that bailing hook. It's, I can see it already. Through the eye. Well, of course it is. It's a Viking murder. Good on you, Kristen. We love the grizzly, especially from South Australia, home of the grizzly.
That's it.
I shouldn't have said that, should I? Really? No. Good on you, Kristen. Okay, the inaugural Monash University New Writer Award for a 19 to 25-year-old goes to Ellen Vickerman from Carindale, Queensland, for her story Leash. For as long as she can remember, Vix's dad has kept a dog locked in the secret garden shed. When it dies, he makes her act as bait to help him trap a replacement, a beautiful new dog with blue eyes and brown hair. Soon, Vix finds herself visiting the secret shed every day, torn between hunger for affection and loyalty to her father as the dog attempts to strike a deal. It will take care of Vix if Vix helps it to escape.
Ellen Vickerman is a based emerging writer who fell in love with crime and noir fiction through entering Scarlet Stiletto competitions as a teenager and winning a swag of awards. Smarty pants. She's currently studying a Master of Philosophy at QUT, very double smarty pants, where she's researching uses of experimental narrative structures for telling stories of climate change. Goodness me, Ellen, that is very impressive and highly curious. Experimental narrative structures. Can you please just briefly tell me a little bit about that? I need to know.
Just sort of looking at how you can arrange your narrative so that you're left with a feeling of being suspended between and not quite getting to settle at a point in time, and how we can use that when sort of the future feels like it's getting closer, but we're not quite there yet. Yeah, so that's a lot of fun.
Interesting.
And I want to say thank you to everyone at Scarlet Stiletto. You guys have been just amazing and encouraged me so much over the last sort of 6 years. I think it's been, 6 years now. And, you know, just been such an incredible influence on me having the confidence to pursue writing to university and, you know, into postgrad now. So thank you. And it's been really exciting to get to enter it this year with everything else going on, to have this to look forward to as well. So, yeah.
So Ellen, is this your last gasp at the 19 to 25-year-old slot? Or will you move with the big girls yet?
I'm 21, so I have a little bit of a window there.
You've got 4 more years of winning ahead of you. This is great. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. Everyone loves a story with a dog in it that's trying to get saved. This is great. Okay. Natasha Nettie from Brunswick, Victoria, has won the Affirm Press Young Writers Award for under 19s for her story, Signs of Life. Signs of Life is told through the ghostly eyes of a young mother, the victim of a tragic misunderstanding. When her killer starts stalking her daughter, the mother is determined to save her child.
Natasha Hope Savage Nettie is a Year 9 student and huge theatre nerd who enjoys writing, music and movie. In 2019, she was part of a team that won 2nd place in the Improv Melbourne State School Championship. She has more ideas for stories than she has time to write them down. You are the future, Natasha. Keep going. We need you.
I will, I promise.
Congratulations.
I'd just like to thank the Sisters in Crime for such an amazing opportunity, and acknowledge both my parents who have always supported my passion for writing. I'm really excited. I didn't think this was going to happen. This is so good.
Well done, darling.
It's a crowded house of writers there, Natasha. All 3 of you. Who gets the study to write in? Where is there a battle for
we
space?
have a table. We swap over.
Fantastic. Well, you know, you shove them out of the way because you're the future. It's going to be great. We're moving into the main ones now. The 3rd prize of $500 offered by the Sun Bookshop We love you at the Sun Bookshop. And Wild Dingo Press has been won by Ashgrove, Queensland author Veronica Lando for her story A View for Tea and Biscuits. When a body is discovered in the library of Seaview Retirement Village, Ruth Butterfield's digging unearths some deeply buried secrets about her fellow residents. With a jilted lover, a political rival, and a money-wielding loan shark, it soon becomes clear that everyone is a suspect. Between book club and bingo, Ruth uncovers the unsettling truth about her friends and learns just how far some residents will go for the perfect cup of tea.
Veronica Lando is a Brisbane-based psychotherapist who moonlights as a writer. Between changing nappies and negotiating with a toddler, she enjoys plotting the perfect crimes and devising cunning ways to get away with murder. She had previously been published through the Queensland Writers Centre and this year entered the Scarlet Stiletto for the first time. You are a very busy lady, Veronica, and all power to you for finding time to write stories. Congratulations.
Thank you. And thank you to Sisters in Crime. As Nadine mentioned, this is my first time entering the Scarlet Stiletto. And so I'm just a bit caught up in basking in the glitter and glam of the virtual ceremony. As a writer, I'm very new to the craft, and so I feel especially privileged to have won or been shortlisted for this category and to have come, I think, third, I heard.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful,
Thank you very much.
Good on you, Veronica. And you're right, it is glittering and glamorous, this Zoom session, don't you think?
You can see from my background.
You can feel it. I'm drinking champagne. Everyone's having a great time. They're in their pajamas. We're all enjoying. I think, it may be the way to go for future Scarlet Stiletto Awards. Who knows? Well done, Veronica. Brilliant. The Simon & Schuster second prize, worth $1,000, goes to West Australian author SHERRYL Rogers for The Monitor, which also won the Writers' Victoria Award. Way to go, SHERRYL.
I'm just speechless. For this story, it was an idea that grew from something a friend told me about a group of women who'd exacted justice against the perpetrator of a crime in another part of the state that I live in. So I knew I couldn't really use that, but I could extrapolate it and set it in the beautiful Swan Valley where I live. I could change it a little bit. I could bring in Spanish influenza, which I thought gave it some relevance to how we've been living this year. And so I'm so pleased for the story. I know it sounds odd, like it's a pet, but I'm very pleased for this story that it has found a readership that appreciates it. And so thank you very much.
Well done, SHERRYL. You have scored. We're doing proper clapping on Zoom. That is fantastic. All right. It's time for the big one. Drum roll. Brothers and sisters-in-law, sisters and brothers-in-law, it's time for the first prize, Anne's Scarlet Stiletto Trophy, kindly donated by Swinburne University of Technology and worth $1,500. And it goes to 25-year-old Bermagui author Jessica Southern-Reid for her World War II story, Death in the Skies, which totally blew the judges away. It was so brilliant. So congratulations, Jessica.
Thank you. I thought that I'd be all composed and show over my shoe, but I'm still just panicking because it's so exciting. Thank you so much for honouring me with this award and my beautiful trophy as well. Congratulations to all of the other authors who are shortlisted and all of the category winners. Thank you to, sorry, I'm keeping composed. I'm not doing very well with that though. I'm so excited.
Do some crying, do some crying. We like that.
I'm going to try and keep that at bay. Thank you, of course, Jane, and of course, Nadine as well. I also want to thank Sisters in Crime. I've been a long time stalker of this competition and I've never been brave enough to enter it. And this has been so much fun. And I am actually on the verge of tears, so I'm going to stop talking right now. But thank you so much. And thank you for encouraging women in literature in Australia.
Well done.
I need to stop now.
Well, I think it's time for all of the winners. We're going to turn you all on, if you don't mind me using that expression, and charge your glasses. And we're going to toast all of our winners tonight because you've all been magnificent. Some of you are people who have won before, but it never gets any any less exciting. It's just fantastic to have you all, everyone having a go and writing a short story, which is not easy. You know, it's a very difficult thing to do. So congratulations to all of you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well done for all your hard work and effort. You are recognised and valued, and well done.
Brilliant. And no Scarlet Stiletto award ceremony, or in fact book ceremony, would be complete without a raffle. I'm going to ask Nadine to give me 3 random numbers between 1 and is it 56? I think it is.
Okay, 17, Jane. 17.
Okay, the winner is Claire Knock. There you, Claire. Could I have another number, please, Nadine?
Yes, how about 32?
Wendy Pruis. Wendy Pruis, P-R-U-I-S. Fantastic. And finally, Nadine, what would be your last number?
Too hard, I want everyone to win. Number 8.
It's Mari Smythe, or Smith with a Y. Mari Smythe.
Congratulations.
That's you. That's our 3 winners. I hope they've been noted down by our fabulous leader. Carmel Shoot will be taking care of that. I should have marked though, but we've recorded, so there's no going back. Okay. It's now, and over to you, Nadine. You're about to do a bit of a launch for us.
I think so. It's now my pleasure to launch Scarlet Stiletto's The 12th Cut, the collection of winning stories from this year's competition. $5 as an ebook from the publisher Clandestine Press, or $5.99 from Booktopia, Amazon, or iTunes. So much pleasure for such a small price, and so much talent packed in to such a small price as well, Jane, quite frankly.
Absolutely. Brilliant. So that is fantastic. It's being, as we were speaking, there were people down in the basement just on bicycles printing it out, and it's going to be available. It's be fabulous. Always a top read. So many thanks to all of our judges. I mean, they have to read so many stories. They really deserve an incredible round of applause. To the conveners, to Catherine Lamont for creating the video, and Malte Wagenfeld for crafting the trophy, which it may be the best one in 27 years. And to the many generous sponsors who made the 27th Scarlet Stiletto Awards possible. Thanks to Nadine Garner. Woohoo! This may be your second time, but you might be a recidivist. We might have to get you back a few more times. And remind us of the audiobook stories.
Oh yes, anyone who wants to listen to some stories, I know you're all busy writing them, but if you get a chance, I've been sitting in a cupboard all lockdown recording some murder mystery tales, uncovered, women writers who have been forgotten through time. The first series is called Lady Molly of Scotland Yard, and she's just written some really delightful sort of 40-minute tales. I've recorded 12 of them, and they're on our website, The Forgotten Mysteries. You can subscribe via Patreon. We're very slow starting. We're really looking for some more patrons. So please, if you've got time to listen to some of the little test samples, I'd love you to have a listen. And it'd be fascinating to hear what you think of them. I mean, they were written in 1910 by Baroness Dorsey. They're beautifully crafted, but they're of their time. But I just think it'd be fascinating to know what accomplished writers like you actually think of them.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Nadine. It was just gorgeous and wonderful to share your stories.
It's lovely to see you and spend some time with you, if only virtually. And congratulations to all these incredibly talented, hardworking women who are often holding down jobs, raising children, juggling careers and all sorts of responsibilities, the people in their lives and the people they take care of, often under-acknowledged, I think. So well done. I understand and see your hard, tireless work, and it's a real pleasure for me to be able to honour you in this space tonight. So congratulations to all of you, and happy writing. Keep going.
Well done. Many thanks for joining us. And just briefly, I'm going to put in a plug for myself. If you're in Melbourne, I sing every Thursday night down at Claypot's Evening Star at the Melbourne Market. We'd love to see you there, 7 till 9. It's free to get in and $50 to get out. And it is really good fun. And I've got a book of poetry out called A Day at a Time in Rhyme, which you can find on my website, janeclifton.com.au. That's enough about me. We had such a great time tonight, and I hope you enjoyed watching us on YouTube or whatever way you watched us. And many thanks for joining us tonight. And remember, everyone, it's not too early to start writing for the 28th Scarlet Stiletto Awards. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Good night.